Your work over the years has inspired me personally. One thing that I found extremely useful in my own life was what you describe as the perfect game. Would you please take us through what is the perfect game and define it as how we as realtors can apply it to our lives, even starting today?
Well, the perfect game begins, Chris, with understanding the context. The context of the perfect game is the recognition that God, source, universe, whatever you like to call that unifying energy that is sort of the wind beneath our wings, whatever you want to call that, has got your back. Your goals and dreams want into your life. And most of the time, Chris, you're not letting them in. You're not letting them in because your goals and dreams are new and they're different. So your goals and dreams are not what you've experienced before. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a goal or a dream. They would just be something you're maintaining.
Good point.
Now, the issue with that is the drunk monkey, which is my nickname for the talking in your head. The drunk monkey's job is actually mostly to move you away from potentially dangerous situations. That includes things that are new and different. Things that are new and different we are worried about, we're nervous about, we're uneasy about. So we set these goals and dreams, which are new and different things. New and different stuff starts to come into our life, and our mind automatically says, burp, 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 get away, and shuts us down so we don't engage in the new and different. Therefore, our goals and dreams never really come about. So over time, I've coached more than 8,000 people since 1993. And over time, what I've realized is that there was a group of top performers who operated in a way that was very different than most of the top performers. Most top performers take on what I call a forceful modality, where they just push and force and shove, and they turn off their emotions, and, it's that whole just do it idea. Mm-hmm. Most people don't have the stamina, Chris, to just do it. They don't have thick enough skin. Mm-hmm. But there was a group of top performers that I came across that I started to call the inspired top performer. The inspired top performer was in much more of a benign, loving, flowing, accepting style. Now, it wasn't that they didn't take action. They still took action. But they didn't take action with a lot of, rah! They took action more from a yin position, a more relaxed, flowing position. And one of the things that I noticed that they did was that they said yes to interesting and unusual things. And so I actually invented the game when I was on my way to Europe with my soon-to-be wife. She didn't know she was going to be my wife yet. But she was someone who, at the time when we first were together, she was very uptight. And she wasn't a go-with-the-flow type. She was a plan everything out, make sure that everything is totally dialed in. And that was not my style. My style was go with the flow, see what happens, and have fun. And so we're on the plane, and I say to her, how about if we play a game? Because I could tell she was a little bit nervous. And she said, all right, well, what's the game? And I said, how about this? Whatever's offered, we're going to take it. Whatever's suggested, we're going to do it. And no matter what happens, we're going to laugh, and we're going to declare it perfect. And she was like, what the? And I explained, I said, honey, we have this intention of having a blast on this trip. We have a goal for this trip to be adventurous and bring us a tremendous amount of joy and experience together. We're going to Europe for 15 days, for God's sake. It's going to be amazing. The thing that I think will stop us from having as much joy as we possibly can is that we're going to say no to things that are new and interesting and unusual, and I think we should say yes. As long as it's stuff that isn't going to hurt us or we want to use discernment, I think we should say yes. And she was like, okay. We ended up having the most amazing trip of our entire lives. We were doing things we would never do, and it all happened because we were saying yes. So when we got home, we were on the tarmac in LAX on the airplane, and she turns to me and she says, how about this? Because I had asked her to marry me when we were there, and she said yes. And she said...
She had to.
Yeah, well, there you go. and she said, how about if we play the perfect game for the rest of our lives?
Wow.
And I was like, yes. And I had secretly had already been playing it because I had been noting that these top performers do it. And here's what happens. We set the goal, and then we say no. And we've got to set the goal and start saying yes. So the rules are simple. Whatever's offered, you take it. Now, Chris, people get wacky. What do you mean whatever's offered? What if somebody offers me something that is not good for me? Well, generally, things that when I say offered, that means that somebody knows what you're up to. They know what you're committed to, right?
Right.
People don't offer you stuff randomly. They offer you stuff because you've been telling them about stuff. Now, a lot of people also get confused that it's like, well, does that mean I'm buying everything? That's not offered.
Right.
That's selling.
Mm.
It's not, buy whoever's selling you something. It is when somebody goes, oh, Chris, you should have this. They usually do that because they have your best interest in mind. They see that you have a need. They see that, oh, here's a way I can contribute. The other thing is whatever's suggested. People don't suggest things randomly. They suggest things because you've been talking, you've been chatting. They know what you're up to. They know what you're committed to. So, again, suggestions are not demands and they're not requests. Right? I had a client who said, so let me get this straight, Matthew. I just divorced my husband. He keeps asking me over and over and over to move back in. And I'm just going to say yes? I'm like, that's not a suggestion. That's a request. Or it could be a demand.
Right.
Very, very different. So whatever's offered, you take it. Whatever's suggested, you do it. And whatever happens, you laugh and you declare it perfect because you know that what's coming is your goals and dreams. And it may be that you just said yes to something that is 3 steps away from the goal coming. So you don't get all caught up. You don't get attached. You just keep rolling with it and you watch what happens. It is amazing how powerful this is. I would love for people to go to my website, MatthewFerry.com, and sign up for my free 7 Steps to Happiness and Success course. If they just go to my website, there's a little thing where they can sign up for that, and I go through in much more detail some of these kinds of tactics to pull things to you. What you resist will persist. What you accept will transform. And when you accept it, you go into a happier state, and things work. Happiness is one of the most powerful things that you can bring to your business. I was just reading an article in the Harvard Business Review, and one of the scientists there was doing studies, and still is, doing studies on happiness. And with salespeople, they noted over time, they did thousands and thousands of studies on this, and found that salespeople who went into a happy state before they went on their sales call had a 37% increase in their business.
Seems logical.
Yeah. Happiness is very productive, interesting, and unusual. You want to be on the lookout for those things. When you declare a new goal, a new dream, and things start happening, look for the interesting and unusual events and definitely say yes to those.
Getting you one-on-one on a one-on-one basis, is that something that people can find information about on your website? Yeah,
if they go to MatthewFerry.com, I think that for most people, to work with me personally is probably out of most people's budget. I charge anywhere from $18,000 to $27,000 a year to coach with people, and that's just because I deserve it. I help people make a lot of money, and for a long time I've been trying to figure out, well, what do I do? How can I help more people? Because not a lot of people can spend that kind of money. And over time, I have developed a virtual coaching program that people can jump into. And so if people go to my website, they can look into what it is that I'm doing there. And I have much more reasonably priced programs that are in the virtual realm. But I think the good place to start is free, 7 Steps to Happiness and Success. That course right there is a great place to start.
Absolutely. And you have an audio program available as well. Can you explain that?
I've got several audio programs, but my latest one that I'm promoting is called Ridiculous Bliss, How to Be Happy All the Time. And it is a program where I go through each of the categories of your life. So ridiculous bliss at work, ridiculous bliss with your family, ridiculous bliss with your kids, ridiculous bliss with your body, on and on. And I give you tactics, easy, implementable ideas to get you into a state of ridiculous bliss. And that's actually a term that I used to use with my buddy Mark Victor Hansen as I was coaching him through some processes. I'd say, Mark, you just got to do this because it's going to get you into a state of ridiculous bliss. And he's like, that's your next audio program right there.
Fantastic. Is it available, and I'm not talking about the CD, but seriously, happiness, acceptance of where you are and achieving your goals and dreams and ridiculous bliss, is that available to everybody? I mean, just anybody can achieve this?
Yes, and I'd like to say that with a caveat, right? It's also different for every single person. Happiness is a skill that anybody can learn. And if someone is listening to this podcast, they are obviously more focused on developing themselves. If you're focused on developing yourself, you definitely can achieve happiness and success in fairly large measure pretty rapidly. All you got to do is you just got to learn how to do that. And, it's pretty simple to learn. Not easy to implement, but pretty simple to learn. Thanks, Chris. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Absolutely. Take care.